Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen has met with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, the first meeting of this kind in the United States for decades. The face-to-face outside Los Angeles comes on what is technically a stopover for the president. Kevin McCarthy's position as House Speaker makes him number 3 in the U.S. political hierarchy and therefore the most senior American figure to meet a Taiwanese leader on U.S. soil since 1979. The trip comes despite warnings from China. Beijing claims the self-ruled island of Taiwan as its own and resents what it sees as U.S. meddling in its domestic affairs. Now, at the beginning of the talks, Speaker McCarthy talked about his hopes for the meeting.
I'm optimistic that we will continue to find ways for the people of America and Taiwan to work together to promote economic freedom, democracy, peace, and stability in Asia.
DW correspondent Stefan Simons joins us from Washington with more. Stefan, this is an important visit to the U.S. Walk us through the details of the meeting taking place right now in California.
Well, this meeting is about to wrap up, and we're expecting actually a press conference of the president of Taiwan and House Speaker McCarthy in just a few moments. However, this all started and involved talks which were actually kind of secret, which were just revealed from the Taiwanese or by the Taiwanese president, who had met in New York 3 senators, 2 Republican and 1 Democratic senator, discussing the same issue she is discussing with Mr. McCarthy, the House Speaker, and a group of 12 lawmakers of the House of Representatives, and that is possible U.S. legislation in case China should invade Taiwan, sanctions for that matter, and this
Stefan,
is what they
I hate to interrupt you, but
largely.
I think that press conference that you just teased for us is beginning and will go live to Southern California to bring this to our viewers.
That capture President Reagan's patriotic spirit, his belief in democracy, and commitment to the ideas of peace and freedom. Those values have always served as the bedrock of our friendship with the people of Taiwan. And they are more important now than ever before. I believe our bond is stronger now than at any time or point in my lifetime. And of course, President Tsai is a great champion of that bond. Taiwan is a successful democracy, a thriving economy, and a global leader in health and science. And whether it's our deep commercial ties, strong people-to-people relationships, or shared values, our cooperation with the people of Taiwan continue to expand through dialogue and exchange. The friendship between the people of Taiwan and America is a matter of profound importance to the free world, and it is critical to maintain economic freedom, peace, and regional stability. We will honor our obligations and reiterate our commitment to our shared values, behind which all Americans are united. Today was a bipartisan meeting of Republicans and Democrats united together in a place that symbolizes the freedom and the commitment and the bond that's only become stronger with the president with us today. President Tsai?
Thank you. Speaker McCarthy, friends, I am delighted to visit the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library once again, this time with Speaker McCarthy and distinguished members of the Congress. I want to thank Speaker McCarthy for his warm hospitality and for his invitation to bipartisan congressional leaders who have taken time out of their busy schedules to join us today. Their presence and unwavering support reassure the people of Taiwan that we are not isolated and we are not alone. It is especially fitting for us to meet here to pay tribute to a distinguished American president and world leader. a man who also played a crucial role in partnership with the U.S. Congress in protecting and fortifying U.S.-Taiwan relations at a time of changing diplomatic realities. President Reagan's 6 assurances of 1982, on top of the landmark Taiwan Relations Act passed by the Congress, laid the foundation for a strong and unique partnership of over 4 decades, during which we have maintained peace and promoted prosperity and welcomed the advent of Taiwan's democracy. However, it is no secret that today, the peace that we have maintained and the democracy which have worked hard to build are facing unprecedented challenges. We once again find ourselves in a world where democracy is under threat, and the urgency of keeping the beacon of freedom shining cannot be understated. President Reagan said it best: freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for and defended constantly by each generation. In a discussion with congressional leaders this morning, I reiterated Taiwan's commitment to defending the peaceful status quo, where the people of Taiwan may continue to thrive in a free and open society. I also highlighted a belief which President Reagan championed, that to preserve peace, we must be strong. I would like to add that we are stronger when we are together. For this, I also express our deepest gratitude on behalf of the Taiwanese people to members of the Congress on both sides of the aisle, and a number of initiatives that have helped to make Taiwan and our partnership stronger. Specifically, initiatives in the realms of enhancing Taiwan's self-defense capabilities, fostering robust trade and economic ties between us, and supporting Taiwan's meaningful participation in the international community, have all served to safeguard our shared interests in peace and prosperity across the Indo-Pacific. Taiwan strives to be a reliable partner to the world, a cornerstone for stability in the region, and a force for good. There is saying in the Confucian analects, that is, one who is virtuous will not stand alone. In our efforts to protect our way of life, Taiwan is grateful to have the United States of America by our side. As we confront the unique challenges of our time, let us be mindful of the principles that have forged our great partnerships and bear in mind the lessons President Reagan's enduring legacy. Once again, thank you, Speaker McCarthy, for your warmth and for your friendship. Thank you to all our friends in Congress for standing by Taiwan. Thank you.
Thank you, President.
President Tsai, you have a message for President Xi.
And Stefan Simons is still with us. Stefan, if we can bring him up. Exactly, there he is. So the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, they're saying that the bond between the U.S. and Taiwan is stronger than at any time during his lifetime. Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen thanking the U.S. for its support that she says makes her people see that they are not alone. What's your biggest takeaway? What did we learn in this press conference?
Yeah, it's true, actually. The ties between the U.S. and Taiwan are as strong as they can get. And that is, of course, because the other relationships between the U.S. and China are on a further deteriorating downspill. It's the worst ever in recent history. At least that's what many experts say. From the view of the Taiwanese president, of course, this is a crucial visit because it comes at a critical time where even relationships and tensions between Taiwan and China are not really great. They are really bad, actually. And so, therefore, her aim to show that, as she said, Taiwanese people, 23 million people, are not isolated and that Taiwan is not alone. Taiwan accounts for about 13 nations around the world who have recognized the Taiwanese government as legitimate. The United States is one of them. Everybody else is basically, Taiwan is frozen out on the international diplomatic market by China. Therefore, she made a point to be stronger together. And that means militarily, Taiwan is dependent on U.S. military commitment or help, as well as, and now we're talking money and follow the money, semiconductors. Taiwan is a powerhouse in terms of semiconductors and everybody wants those. So economic collaboration, militarily support, diplomatic support by the United States, critical for Taiwan. And of course, I think it was clear that she was very appreciative of having the U.S. being in Taiwan's corner so very strongly at the moment.
Stefan Simons in Washington, thank you so much. And we can dig deeper now. And for this, I can welcome Tim Rühlig. He's a China expert with the German Council on Foreign Relations. Welcome to DW. Now, when former U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was in Taiwan last year, China reacted by launching its largest ever military exercise in waters around Taiwan. Do you expect to see a similar reaction this time around?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Well, I don't expect the same degree of Chinese reaction in a way. I think also the fact that Mrs. Tsai has come to the United States this time on a stopover and not the Speaker McCarthy visiting Taiwan is sort of already seen as some form of concession to the Chinese. So I'd expect the Chinese to make a couple of tough statements. Also, we already see a couple of movements, maritime movements around Taiwan from Chinese ships. But I would not expect a similar scale response as we've seen when Speaker Pelosi visited Taiwan.
Talking about tough statements, here is China's foreign ministry spokesperson reacting to the Taiwanese president's trip to the U.S.
We urge the U.S. to abide by the One China principle, not to allow Tsai Ing-wen to transit in the U.S. and not to arrange meetings between Tsai and U.S. officials. China will closely follow the developments and defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Mr. Rühlig, China, they're demanding the U.S. abide by the One China principle. That's Beijing's perception that Taiwan is an inalienable part of China. But the cornerstone of U.S.-China relations is the One China policy. Could you briefly explain the difference?
Well, I think the One China principle that China really pushes here leaves absolutely no room for cooperation between democratic Taiwan and other countries, because it really insists on Chinese full sovereignty and that whatever matter a foreign government wants to discuss with regard to Taiwan needs to be discussed in Beijing as the sole legal representative, legitimate representative of One China, including Taiwan. While the One China policy does sort of accept the general fact sort of that there's one China, but the One China policy leaves much more room. It is sort of much more ambiguous. It does include the possibility of a number of somewhat sort of lower level contacts between Taiwan, the democratic government there, and the United States. And that is sort of a deep friction here between China and the United States, but also a number of European allies of the United States that also claim the One China policy instead of the One China principle.
Why do you think McCarthy is meeting Taiwan's president now? What's the message he might be sending to Beijing there?
Well, it has to do in part also with domestic politics in the United States. There's hardly any bipartisan issue in Washington left, but being tough on China is certainly one of them. And his predecessor, Speaker Pelosi, has visited Taiwan and has sent a very strong and tough message to Beijing. She has also sent a very clear message to the domestic audience that she, as one of the lead Democrats, is really standing close with Taiwan. And I think Speaker McCarthy wants to sort of repeat this very strong signal, as Taiwan is not just a very important domestic issue within the United States, but it is also of utmost importance in terms of technology, in terms of sort of the overarching rivalry between the United States and the People's Republic of China.
Tim Rühlich with the German Council on Foreign Relations. Thank you so much for giving us your take on Tsai Ing-wen's visit to California, where she met Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy.